It's getting really close to Halloween, so I'm betting that you can guess what I'm doing today. I will be finally carving the pumpkins. And let me show you what I have set up so far. So I have a weird kind of assembly of tools here. I don't know which ones I'll be using yet, but for sure I'll be using a pencil to kind of stencil or draw out the rough pattern that I want on the pumpkin. I have a spoon and then a kind of like refuge bin for all of the pumpkin guts and seeds. And then I think mostly I'll be using my Swiss Army knife and then this slightly bigger knife for like carving the bigger pieces. And then I just got some like drill bits and then this kind of like tool to punch some holes into the pumpkins because I need to make some small holes, and I think it'll be easier to do it with these than the Swiss Army knife. And then I also got this like apple core remover, which I also thought that could help me make some of the like bigger holes. So let's see what I end up using. And these are the pumpkins that I'll be working with today. I'm carving these two big boys. I have the patterns already. I want to do bats on one and then an owl on the other. And then these guys will get painted with some acrylic paints. So let's jump right in and see how we do. So let's get started. What I want to do first is just carve the tops out and hollow these guys out, and then I'm gonna draw some basic patterns so I know what to follow so I don't mess up. And what you want to keep in mind when you're carving the tops out is try to get as small of an area as you can, which still gives you access to like dig out all of the seeds and the guts, because if you cut out a really big area here, you'll get more water leakage in if it's raining, and it'll also compromise the structure of the pumpkin a little bit more. Plus then it's away from all of your carving space that you can then do like on the face of the pumpkin. So I always try to do a really small hole, but of course enough that I can fit my hand in there to dig everything out. And here I always want to remind people that slow and steady wins the race. I have the scar to prove it on my thumb that you don't want to like start like trying to slice anything because the pumpkin is still quite hard. So just go really slowly, that way the knife won't slip and you won't end up with any accidents. Okay, so now I've cut all the way through, and now it's just left to jiggle this gently. You don't want to accidentally like pull off the stem, so you have to be a little bit careful here, but we're done. Now just to empty it out. And as you can see, this isn't really like a circle, it's more of like a hexagon on mine, and that doesn't matter. It's whatever is easiest for you. I always just try to do like straight cuts because that's the easiest on the knife and you. So yeah, feel free to cut whatever shape you want. Okay, so this one's looking pretty good. It's all hollowed out and clean. What you want to do at this point is to just really remove all of the like stringy, gooey stuff from inside, all of like the webbing and the seeds, because that's the stuff that will start to decompose the fastest, and you really want to avoid that to keep your pumpkin looking nice and good for the longest amount of time. But while you remove all of that stuff, because it's really stuck to the flesh of the pumpkin, you want to try to remove as little of the flesh as you can, because that's what then keeps the integrity and shape of your pumpkin. So it's a fine line. I always take like some small slivers of the flesh with just to remove all of the hairs and the gooey bits, but other than that, it's quite good. So I have this all set. I will set it aside and clean the other one, and then I'll come back. Alright, I have both of my pumpkins hollowed out. Let me go wash my hands and then I will draw the patterns. Okay, so now I have the seeds and the guts here. I'm going to set that aside, and then later I'm going to separate all of the seeds so I can make some toasted pumpkin seeds, which are delicious, but we don't need those for now, so I'll set that aside. I googled some images of what I was wanting to do on the pumpkins, which I think I need to stop the video for a little while to take a look at my phone, especially for the owl that I was planning to do, because it's a bit more ornate and I want to make sure that everything fits on the pumpkin before I start carving it. The bats should be a little bit more straightforward, but what I'm just now going to do is I'm going to take each pumpkin together with the image next to me and just kind of do like a rough sketch with the pencil. The pencil won't leave a really dark line, which is perfect, because if I then change my mind or if I carve a little bit to the side of where I've marked the pencil, it won't leave like a dark line, for example, if I was using a permanent marker or something like that. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you change your mind, or if you figure out something doesn't work, or you like draw wrongly, or whatever you do. So I just like using a pencil. It won't leave, like I said, a very dark line, so you have to be then like quite careful when you're then following the line once you start carving. But I just like it because it's more forgiving. So that's my tip to you. Don't use any like permanent marker. If you use a water soluble marker, then that should be fine, because then you could just wipe off whatever is left after you're done. But let's see, now I need to assess which pumpkin is going to be for which. I think I will need the bigger pumpkin for my owl, so I will start drawing. Okay, I have now carved the designs into the pumpkins, or drawn. I have now drawn the designs into the pumpkins. The next step is to carve. This one is a lot more detailed, and it has some technique that I haven't tried before to get the final result that I'm looking for. So let's see how we go. So Here's my pretty little owl. I think it turned out great. It was the first time that I've done this kind of technique where you only like peel the skin part but leave the flesh. And then once the sun sets and we put a candle in here, you should get a kind of different kind of light coming through the areas where there's still some flesh there as opposed to the holes. But overall, I'm super happy with this one. It's nice and ornate, just the way I like it. And then the one with the bats is a little bit more simple, but just as fun. I have the two bats there, quite big holes, so this probably won't hold up quite as long as the one with the owl, but I think these are a perfect match. And let's get these all set up. Alright, I've got the pumpkin set up the way I want. I have the two carved ones and then the ones with acrylic painted boo on the stack there. So let's wait until it gets dark and I'll put some candles in them and show you what they look like. I am so happy with the way they turned out.